All right, grade 7. Well, we are getting into our last video for chapter 4, lesson 4.7, solving two-step inequalities. So basically, we are solving the equation, then graphing the solution. So 6y plus 7 is greater than 5. You should be able to figure out that we want to rewrite this as 6y minus 7 equals 5. Which means here in this situation, to isolate the variable 6y, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. Plus 7 there is going to give me 0. Plus 7 there is going to give me 12. Which means that I end up with 6y equals 12. Which means that if 6y equals 12, I divide both sides by 6. 12 divided by 6, y equals 2. Which means now that I'm going to end up with y is greater than 2. There's no negative over here with the variable, so I don't have to flip the inequality. Y is greater than 2. So I want to graph that. Y cannot be equal to 2, so it's going to be an unshaded circle that starts at 2. It's going to move to the right. It's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 to get our minimum of 5 numbers. All right, here we go. 4 minus 3a is greater than or equal to 19. Well, first of all, we want to think of it as 4 minus 3a equals 19 because I want to solve the equation. Then I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides here. So that's going to be 0. I'm going to subtract 4 here. That's going to be 15. Then I'm going to end up with negative 3a is equal to 15. Which means I'm going to divide everything by negative 3. Okay, I'm going to divide everything by negative 3. Which means that when I divide everything by negative 3, I'm going to end up with 15 divided by negative 3, which is negative 5. So it's going to be a equals negative 5. Or essentially, because there's a negative sign associated with the variable, I'm going to be flipping the variable. So it's not going to be a is greater than or equal to 5. It's going to be a is less than or equal to negative 5. Okay? Is the way that's going to work out, which makes sense when it's with a negative 3. So once again, it's going to be less than or equal to, which means it's moving to the left because it's getting smaller. It's going to be shaded because the graph, it can equal negative 5. And then to fill in my 5 numbers, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9. All right, final one here. Let's give a final one on this board, I should say. W over negative 4, which that's going to be division, plus 8 is greater than 9. So we're going to have W over negative 4 plus 8 is equal to 9. Well, I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. That's going to give me 0. Minus 8 here is going to give me 1, which means I end up with W over negative 4 equals 1. Okay, well, to solve for W, I'm going to multiply these two numbers when the division problem variable comes first. So it's going to be 1 times negative 4. Well, 1 times negative 4 means that W equals negative 4. Okay, but since there's a negative thing along with the variable, I'm going to be switching this inequality again. So it's not going to be W is greater than negative 4. It's going to be W is less than negative 4. And if you actually test that with negative numbers, you'll see that works. Which means my graph is going to be going to the left. It's going to stay unshaded because it can't equal negative 4. It has to be less than negative 4. And then I'm going to fill it in. Negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. All right? Moving right along. 2 times k minus 5 in parentheses is less than 6. Well, first of all, I want to clear the parentheses. 2 times k is 2k. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And that's going to be less than 6. But of course, I know that I'm thinking about this as 2k minus 10 equals 6. Got to isolate the 2k by adding 10 to both sides. I'm going to add 10 here. That's going to be 0. I'm going to add 10 here. That's going to be 16. I end up with 2k equals 16. Well, if I divide both sides by 2, I'm going to get k equals 8. There's no, when I get to 2k equals 16, there's no negative attached with the variable. So I'm not going to flip it this time. It's going to stay this one. It's going to be k is less than 8, which means my variable is going to be getting smaller. It needs to stay unshaded because it doesn't say k can equal 8. It's k is less than 8. So I'm moving that to the left. That's going to be 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. All right, here we go. 2 more. Negative 4 multiplied by n minus 10 in parentheses is less than 32. First of all, I want to clear parentheses. Negative 4 times n is negative 4n. Negative 4 times negative 10 is a positive 40. That's going to be less than 32. Well, now I need to isolate the negative 4n by subtracting 40 from both sides. That gives me 0. When I do 32 minus 40, that's going to equal negative 8. Now remember, you can be plugging these things into your calculator. We don't want you to get these wrong 7th grade because you do the math wrong. So just be very careful in your addition and subtraction. Enter things right into the calculator. But like I said, nobody can do that for you. You have to handle that on your own. So negative 4n equals negative 8. That tells me when I'm going to divide everything by negative 4, negative 8 divided by negative 4 is a positive 2. So n equals 2. But here I have a negative number connected with the variable, which means the inequality needs to get flipped. Okay? The inequality needs to get flipped, which means that this is going to be, instead of n is less than 2, n has to be greater. I put equals again. N has to be greater than 2. N cannot equal 2, so it's going to be an unshaded circle that starts at 2. It's greater than, it's on the bigger side, so it's going to move to the right. Remember, when it's open, that's the bigger side, so it moves to the right. When it's closed, like in this one, it's going to be moving to the left when it's on the smaller side. So to make sure I got my 5 numbers, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, last one. Negative 3 is less than or equal to 0.5 multiplied by 8 plus y in parentheses. Well, so we're going to have negative 3 is less than or equal to, let's clear the parentheses, 0.5 times 8. If I entered that into my calculator, that would be 4. 0.5 times plus y would be plus 0.5y. Now I'm going to set up an equation. Negative 3 is equal to 4 plus 0.5y. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. That's going to give me 0 there. I'm going to do negative 3 minus 4. That's going to equal negative 7. Okay, so I'm going to end up with negative 7 equals 0.5y. Well, I'm going to be dividing everything by 0.5 to isolate the y. If I were to plug that into my calculator, negative 7 divided by 0.5, I would find that negative 14 is what equals y. Now, there's no negative associated with the variable, so my inequality is not going to change. It's going to be negative 14 is less than or equal to y. Now, this is where it gets confusing, and we talked about this quite a bit the other class period. It's going to be easy to think that this graph needs to go to the left because it's pointing left. But remember, this has nothing to do with where it's pointing. This is the only example we have in this video. The y is on the greater side of the inequality, which means it has to go right. And it says it's greater than or equal to. It's open to the y, which means this has to be a shaded circle. It's going to the right. It starts at negative 14, and as it gets bigger, it's going to be negative 13, negative 12, negative 11, negative 10. All right, talk to you later, 7th grade. Bye.